pull up the notes over here. Let me go to the list and let's get into it. Oh, so look, there. I mean, again, the big conversation was the delay of the console. But the second topic is getting into the thoughts of these two gentlemen who I have not had a chance to talk to about the Xbox showcase. Some people thought it was amazing. Some people gave it 10 out of 10. I didn't think it was a 10 out of 10. I gave it a strong, solid 9. And again, it was because some things weren't there, and I don't want to be that guy like, oh, it wasn't. Oh, this amazing stuff was there, and how dare you? No, it deserved a 9 for the games that were there. Why I kind of shaved off a point is because I kind of wanted an update on some games. Like, I really thought that we would get something Halo, and I understand why we didn't, but I would have loved, even if it was just a message from Halo Studios leadership. Like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we're working on. We can't show you anything right now, but understand that we're hard at work. I mean, I know they're doing it, but again, I would have liked a few more first-party games in there. I know that they have to represent their third-party partners, which they did in a really big way. Game Pass, again, is loaded with a bunch of titles that are going to be in there. I know they have to have these things. I know they have to give us an update for, Fallout 76 and Sea of Thieves and ESO. I kind of think that they go on a little too long. Like the ESO one with the pets. That was a little bit long. You know what I'm saying? So again, if you like those games, you, player, need to see that. And they have to be there. I just think sometimes they go on a little bit long. That's just my take on it. So 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 is not bad. And again, by Keeley's own poll logic, right? Every time there's a show, he puts out the Keeley poll. Well, the Keeley poll revealed that the Xbox was the best show of the summer. Jez Corden wrote an article on Windows Central, I believe it was Jez, regarding Xbox winning the summer events again. Third time in a row, folks. Not a surprise. But you know what? Crispy Bomb, we haven't had a chance to talk. I do want to get into your thoughts and opinions about the Xbox game showcase because, again, I will say this. There is something really special about being in a room with 200 other gamers, and that's the size of the room that I was in, where you have the likes of, people in this chat, which is great, but you have a lot of big personalities in here as well. You had King David, he was just awesome. Cognito, doing what Cog does. Hip Hop Gamer. I mean, I love that man. I think he is such an incredible human outside of his persona on gaming. What he does for charity and who he teams up with. His catchphrase I absolutely love. Like, I have mine at the end of every show. He says all the time, your currency is your character. I think that is God tier brilliant. I really do. So I was hanging out with him and everybody was electric. And again, I know I say it, I'm getting goosebumps, folks, literally from the tips of my toes to the top of my head. It was electric in there. And you heard me. I almost lost my voice because of how loud I was screaming. Because you get wrapped up in this stuff. But again, watching it on the screen, if you're an Xbox fan, I don't know how you couldn't get excited. Crispy Bomb, let's get your thoughts on this showcase. Because I thought it was really, really strong. And I know that it was coming up against last year's 12 out of 10. Very hard to follow, but I think they did a solid job following up last year's showcase.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised at a lot. Obviously, I agree with you. Like, I almost feel like they need to, like, when they do updates on these games, maybe have a small little show just for that, Sea of Thieves, ESO, Fallout 76. There's other games. So at first I'm like, we're rolling along pretty good. Then you see Clockwork and you're like, wow, that looks way better than I even imagined. Also, that time stuff is going to be really interesting and something that, I mean, we've had it. Like, I remember the last time that I had a good one was like Prince of Persia, Warrior Within, I believe. There's or was the one before it, but it was one of the Prince of Persias that really did the time going back and forth time really good, but it also made your head spin at times because you didn't know exactly what to do. And this seems like more like boxed in, like it's going to be like one fleeting moment, and then you switch it up, and all of a sudden something's there that's not, and it gives you the ability to go somewhere that you might not have been able to. The weapons just look crazy cool. Even the weapons, like, when you're building them, like if that's like the way it's gonna look, like it just has like a snap to it. Like you're like, man, it's like I'm actually, it's going together. Like everything's coming together. Oh, look at this crazy steampunk gun I made. The shooting mechanics look great as well. And keep in mind, in Exile, I mean, been along, they've been doing Wastelands. It's a totally different type of game. So, you could see their humor. You could see they've been cooking. I was at a 9. And I'm saying this, and then I went to a 9.5. And the reason why I went to a 9.5 is because they finally had Final Fantasy. Not my jam, but I know a lot of people that still either won't buy an Xbox or don't use their Xbox half as much because they can't play Final Fantasy, and that's their all-time favorite. They play it all the time. I know multiple people that are now probably looking at Xbox a little different just because of that. I just want to point out, I mean, if you really look at it, you could see all the work Phil has been doing in Japan with just the show. I mean, he really, he tried. I mean, you could see it now. It took a while, but this show really had a lot of different developers that we're not used to seeing, and even some dropping in Game Pass. So you look at that and you say, that's awesome. Ninja Gaiden 4, I can't wait for that. Like that little like freaking saw weapon he's got, all the blood and gore in that game.
Game looks visceral, bro. Like, I can't believe how much blood. It was gory as H.
So I still gotta, I'm good point in. I played like 10, 12 hours of Black, but I'm actually glad I didn't, because then it can get me a warm up when this actually comes out. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure they haven't changed much. You know what I mean? Like that fighting mechanic style is just crazy, and it's just so much fun. I guess one thing that was weird was the one more thing. It looked like a new IP. I was almost like, are they bringing Quantum Break back? Like I had that vibe.
I thought it was Splinter Cell. I thought it was what was the other spy game that came from Obsidian? Alpha Protocol. I was like, oh my god, is this Alpha Protocol? They're bringing it back, and it was yeah. A lot of people actually had an issue, Chris B, with it being Black Ops. I mean, they gotta show it. But the one more thing, I don't know. And
it also brings to the point of making me think that, we might have something at the end of the summer, like September or something, because it did feel like a lot of the games were like more partners than anything. Like a lot of them showed really, really good. And I think that's the whole point. And also, like, I do appreciate there's not a lot of people like whining anymore about it. They told us it was going to say if it was going to be on PlayStation or not. That's what they did. They're not hiding it no more. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. Now, at the same time, like you look at the quality of games, and it was, I mean, even like Super Meat Boy 3D, like that looks like a fun little, little game that just, is going to be pretty wild. I'm sure the girl will probably get into that one, definitely. And, so, I mean, who knows if this Black Ops looks like it might be a little different than people are used to. And I guess that would be a good thing, you know what I mean? Because they do. I mean, if they actually cooked for a year, you know what I mean, that would be pretty smart. But I wouldn't hold my breath because that's a lot of money we're talking about. You know what I mean? So yeah. I felt it was good. It wasn't last year. Last year, I mean, they ended with E-Day. You're gonna get a 10 out of me when you do that as the one more thing. So yeah, it was a 9.5 to me. And I would say, I just love the pacing, just constantly games. The way they have the formula now, they really do. Like you can't complain about the way they push the games. Any speaking was very to the point. There was actually reason for it, especially, Sarah Bond talking about the ally and all these other things. Like it was very pointed. And, I think the future is just going to be insane. I think next year, I think they're really holding back a lot because they really want next year to be a like megaton. We'll get shout out to who. But yeah, I really 9.5, and it definitely, I mean, it leaves room for next year to be like another 12 out of 10, as Boom likes to say.
I love what you're putting down. I think you're onto something, and I do think that there could be that one more thing that has not been announced for 2025. Like I think that I'm sure that when we all thought that Grand Theft Auto 6 was releasing this year, things were moved around by all of the corporations, all of the platforms. They have to account for that, right? Nobody wants to get in front of that behemoth. It's a juggernaut. It's going to sell. I'm going to say this. I have a strong suspicion, and I don't think listen, I'm no mathematician, folks, but I think this is a very easy pick that Grand Theft Auto 6 makes $1 billion in 24 hours. I just think that's in the bag. It's Grand Theft Auto. That Grand Theft Auto 6 looks incredible. I freaking cannot wait. But I think, again, when we first saw, and I have to revert back to Clockwork, right? When we first saw it in, what was it, 21? Was it that we saw it? Or, yeah, maybe 2021. It looked really good then. And then, of course, this showing, I mean, Fuzzy, that looked like it was done, right? So I'm kind of wondering. I know that the trends for Xbox is January developer direct, February release, release. At least it started this year where we're getting a full, 12 months worth of releases, not everything loaded up at the end. And of course, October is for Xbox is bonkers, right? But there's still September, there's still November, there's still December. I think that if they want to buck the trend, so to speak, they could do a developer direct for something at the opening of the year, bookend it for the closure of the year, and release a game at the end that had a showcase to its own, that showed off at the June showcase, had a developer direct, and releases. I think Clockwork could be that, but again, that's just me spitballing. Before we get to your game, your thing or game of the show, Crispy, we'll come back around to that. I want to bring Fuzzy Belvedere in and get your thoughts on the actual event itself, like the Xbox Game Showcase. For me, it's a 9. Crispy gives it a 9.5. He's not wrong. I saw a lot of people in the chat giving it 9s. And again, if I saw some people like legitimately give it a 7.5, and then they broke down why they did, and I'm like, I can't even argue that. If that's what you believe, you're not wrong. What are your thoughts on the showcase, man?
Now I'm a little bit lower than you guys, but at 8.5, it's a solid B.
Solid score, yeah,
and solid showings. No, the reason for the 1.5 off is maybe a title or two titles that I was hoping would be there that didn't make an appearance, but I know they're still in good hands and will probably be full on 2026 releases unless somehow they surprise me at the end of the year with Forza Horizon 6. But that's the only reason why it's at an 8.5 as opposed to a 9.5 for me. But the key things, one, they showed the ROG Xbox Ally and Ally X. Been waiting to see what that was going to entail and how they were going to integrate the software, how much of a Windows 11 that they manipulate or optimize in comparison. So that was a big positive. And like Crispy said, having the Final Fantasies there, something that's been kind of like the carrot stick over our heads kind of deal for a while with this partnership or new workings between Xbox and Square Enix. It was great to see that those games made an appearance and that one of them was available right then that day kind of deal. So that's repairing that relationship, and hopefully the player base will partake in that, and moving forward we might see some growth between Xbox and Square, much like we've seen with Sega. And Sega's showing Persona 4, the remake or the revival. That was a nice one. But the big things that stood out for me, I mean, we'll probably get into this more when you get back to Crispy, but Clockwork Revolution, like
that showed, brother.
That showed above and beyond what even the first showing looked great. And we were like, oh, this looks ready. This looks polished. This looks nah. This made that look like Minecraft to some extent. But no, it looked awesome as far as like the characters, the lighting, the environment, the options they showed in more detail as far as, the repercussions will sometimes happen instantly based on a conversation with a character. Like one guy just got axed right after we said something. So yeah, that's the highlight of the show, at least for me. Now there were also some other good highlights. Like we got to see some more of Chronos. Another one was Invincible's Versus. Now I know it's not going to be Marvel token or whatever, but that was awesome. And it's made by the people that did the original people that did Killer Instinct. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm looking forward to that and seeing what that winds up being, how many characters we get, because there's a limited number of cast characters that they have in the Invincible.
I think there's going to be a lot of guest characters from that universe. Like I obviously, Invincible has a pretty stout roster of characters, but they got to have other characters. Again, they're showing Invincible, which again, I never watched the anime. I never watched the series on Amazon. I have it queued, ready to rock and roll. Yeah. And now after that game, and I said, my God, I read the comics.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, whatever. I'll get to it when I get to it. I'm doing other things. Now I'm like, I got to get to it because Demon, that looked amazing.
Yeah. And we don't get enough fighting games like that. It's great that fighting games are making this comeback. And I'm so glad we got something like that coming to our platform. Keeper, which we finally got to see Double Fine's game, or at least one of the projects, because we're under the assumption they're working on 3. So we got to finally see one of them. And it looks quirky like you would expect Double Fine, but it looks fun. And it's one of those games I'm looking forward to. High on Life 2, like it did extremely well in Game Pass the first go round. And I guess that gave them enough of a budget to have a part 2. So I'm glad that's actually making it into the service again. Indiana Jones, the DLC, glad that we at least got to see that. Although I was hoping to see the Starborn DLC for Starfield, but maybe at a later date, maybe that gets shown at Gamescom or at the the Game Awards or something. But all in all, solid show. Like Resonance,
which by the way, they fooled me. I thought that was Rise Son of Rome 2. God damn it.
Yeah. but it being a spinoff of like a Plague's Tale kind of deal, looks awesome.
They got me good.
The Beast of Reincarnation, like, isn't that the one that's by not Pocket
That's by
Player?
the Pokemon team, folks.
Yeah.
Yes, that is by the team that makes Pokemon. Yes, that game looks dope. Yes.
Like who knew that they had that in them? Like maybe they should break away from Nintendo and Pokemon to make more games like that. Like that looked amazing. Like a little bit of like Monster Hunter-ish look, but overall the visuals on that above and beyond what I was expecting. And there's a plenty of other smaller titles that they had there, but Outer Worlds 2, also another stunner for the show after the event and everything, and giving us more detail on the RPG aspects, the pros and cons on some of the buffs and whatnot that you'll be able to have, not just on weapons, but things like was it like taking hearts from people, and it gives you more life, but it also has like a negative effect, and just all of those types of weird things for that game I'm looking forward to. And then Call of Duty was kind of that weird surprise. Like I know, like you guys, like you said earlier, is it Quantum Break or what Future Soldier kind of thing is this? And yeah, it winds up being Black Ops 7, but look cool. We'll see how the story and everything plays out, but it's going to be in Game Pass day one, so it's worth the try. And I'm so glad that I can try it and not have to spend the 70 plus or potentially 80 to give it a go and stuff. But man, solid show. Didn't quite top last year, but I mean they could fluctuate year after every other year, having a 12 out of 10 type of show. And the way 2026 is stacking up, I think that'll be the case next year. But this is no show to like downplay or throw away or anything like that. This was a solid show. We got to see what we're getting the remainder of this year and on into early next year. And now we can start speculating on what will be at the Dev Direct in January, but still an awesome show and the best out of the non E3 that we have today. So,
yeah, no, I mean, it's a great point of view. So again, I'm going to add some additional evidence to my thought and theories as to why I think there's going to be a developer direct in the later half of this year. They have too many games, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not being facetious. So we're all speculating. Well, what could be in January? What could be the January Dev Direct? That's easy. That's Fable. Was delayed, right? It was delayed. We didn't have a release date, but it was coming this year, and it was delayed a couple of months ago. They're cooking. So if you add the development time, 3 months ago that delay was announced to where we are now in the year. 6 months left of the year, right? Start the new year, and then maybe February, March, you release Fable, right? You got your developer direct. Everyone's excited for it. Boom, you drop it. I'd even say you drop it in February, like with Avowed, right? But where does that leave Clockwork? Clockwork has got to have its own dev direct. Is how many dev directs per year can they have? I think they should have 3. I think they should bookend it and then have one in the middle. That's just my take on it, but I'm not running Xbox. But that's because they have so many games. So I really do think that Clockwork is this year. I think a Dev Direct happens. Again, I could be 1,000% wrong, and I probably am, and that's fine. But I think that there's room for it because, again, next year without Clockwork, there's already 6 stacked games. It's crazy. As a matter of fact, on tomorrow, Fuzzy, not tomorrow. Oh my God. I'm thinking that we're already ready for the weekend. See, this is the problem, folks. I start working on a show days in advance. I thought tomorrow was going to be Monday. Today's only Friday. That's how effed up I am. So yes, I'll send you the notes later. We're going to be talking about all the Call of Duty 7 leaks. There's been a lot of them. And my God, it sounds amazing. But Tuesdays, which I've started working on Tuesday's show, if you could believe it, I have an original topic that Umbra and Jamie and I are going to get into regarding 26, and it's a pretty big conversation. But so for me, I'm not going to reiterate my top picks, but I am going to give you my one pick for the show, and we'll get to Crispy, and then we'll get back to Fuzzy, and then we'll get everyone out of here. For me, there are a lot of games, and there's at least 10 games I could put on this list. I was amazed by a lot of them. But for me, the standout pick is the ROG Ally announcement. Because you got to understand, folks, I have the money and the ability to get a rig at any time. And honestly, I have thought about it, folks. I have really, said, yeah, maybe. That is not where I play. Those are not the waters I swim in. I don't want to be bothered with PC. I know people are like, oh, boom, it's more than just, updating your controller. Listen, folks, I'm a plug and play kind of a guy. I want to plug it in and go. PC's not like that. And I know it's gotten a lot better, but I don't want, PC's expensive. You're consistently updating your shit. I don't want a part of that. Not when you're trying to save for your first home. You got to cut corners here, there, and everywhere, right? Well, this ROG Ally that was presented is everything I could want as a non-PC console gamer, right? It's going to give me the power of PC. Game's going to run great on it. They're going to look great on it. I can hook it up to my TV. No problem. No fuss, no muss, no coconuts. And yes, is it going to be expensive like PC gaming? It is. It's probably going to be anywhere between $700 and $800. Hopefully that's as high as it goes. I'm getting it day one, right? I'm there. And what is it going to do for this PC handheld, which I already own a ROG Ally. I already have the original. And I don't use it very much because it's overly PC, and I don't like that. This thing has stripped away everything. It has made it for simpletons like me that just want a UI that acts like and looks like a console. That's what I'm getting. And that is all I freaking need. So for me, that is the pick of the show. Crispy, let's bring you in. What is your pick of the show? We know that you gave it a 9.5. You really liked the show. Fuzzy gave it an 8.5. I gave it a 9. I love how we're all different scores. I saw a lot of 9s. I saw some people with 7.5s, 8.5s. Listen, score it how you want to score it. But What was your pick of the show, Crispy?
Well, I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to say the best reveal was definitely what you said. The Ally X, the way they showed what we're getting. Obviously there's questions, but they decently showed that this is more of what a console gamer would want. So I loved that. My biggest surprise was Grounded 2. My God,
Yes.
Obsidian, do you have lives, people? Like you're out here. Okay, Outer Worlds 2. Okay, Avowed. Oh, we got Grounded 2 coming out too. I mean, all in 1 year. Like, best purchase Microsoft ever made. Like, there's no question. I mean, they're getting to the point where they are hitting the Insomniac importance to PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? So that's how amazing that was. I was just like, you guys are just cooking and cooking and cooking. And I know it's in preview, but there's going to be a good game loop right off rip. We played the originals preview. It was pretty fun. You know what I mean? So I'm probably going to jump into that at some point. And that's another thing. Like, you look at all the games that are going into Game Pass, you're like, dude, when am I going to have time for all of this?
There you go.
So it's crazy. But my game that showed out is definitely Clockwork. I kind of already went into it, but Clockwork it showed out. It's got so many things that I haven't seen in a very long time, all wrapped into one game, and it just looks like it's going to be a killer game with some fun dialogue and a wild setting, and it oozes in Exile. And I mean, I can't wait for that, and I really do hope it is this year, because that one, like maybe during Christmas time, I could go and boot that up. So yeah, I mean, definitely it's a good show, and I look forward to seeing what next year brings.
Interestingly enough, that is the one game, or there were a couple of them, that did not have a PlayStation logo. So that is exclusive for now. How long, I don't know, but that is Xbox and PC. And that game, like you were saying, it oozes personality. Like, every character was a character. Like, it's just, and that freaking ugly puppet. Oh my God. Like, oh wow. Yes. I want more of that ugly puppet. So Fuzzy, before we get to the last couple of super chats, and before we get to outros, what was your pick of the show?
My pick of the show definitely stands with like what Crispy was saying with Clockwork, but I also got to give it to Outer Worlds 2. Like, after playing the original one, we wanted a bigger a bigger story, more spaces or more places to go, more abilities, more weapons. Have the more of the weapons mean stuff, more companions. Yeah, they're definitely going to deliver that on Outer Worlds 2. I like the pros and cons to some of the abilities you get, like staring into the sun somehow, I guess, heals you, but then you get a solar flare whenever you aim down sights, kind of thing. Like, just a wide variety of these like little quirks and stuff that it's like, well, you get some benefit, but then it might have a negative type of deal. Can you outdo the negative? And is there something to counter the negative? And then just the gear, the weapons and the costumes, much like you had in the first one, and the abilities or perks that you get with those. Like, being a looter shooter person, even though it's not a looter shooter, it's more of an RPG, but just that aspect of it, I'm all for it. And trying different things, like the fact that they're leaning more into the RPG aspect as far as your build of your character, I'm all for it. That was the highlight for me. And we get that in October. I think we get 2 other games in October as well.
October stacked, dude. It's stacked. Yes.
So yeah, but that's going to be the one that gets the most playtime, at least for me, come October. But I can't wait. That was the highlight of the show, along with Clockwork. But I'm starting to agree with you guys. I wouldn't be surprised if we get that at the time frame of like Indiana Jones kind of thing.
It could come out in December, dude. Absolutely, yeah.
So
that gives Outer Worlds 2 plenty of breathing room, because that's October, right? And again, we're in the middle of July. I mean June. July is around the corner, so it's unlikely. August, unlikely, but August does open up the door for, hey, we got a surprise direct, and this Clockwork, December, because again, it does give enough space without overlapping and eating the lunch of Outer Worlds. which again they have to figure out when they're going to do the Grounded 2, where that shows up. That sounds like maybe a summer thing. Maybe that's July. Maybe that's August.
Yeah.
And again, that's preview. Not going on PlayStation 5 because PlayStation 5 doesn't have previews. So it's going to be Xbox and PC. People that played the original are going to love that one. But